Being stationed at a research station in the middle of the Arctic has one major advantage. No one is going to find the bodies until the storm season is over. Thanks for that 2-sentence horror story, submitted by Colin Austed. Winter can be lonely, stretching silence and cold into every corner. And in that emptiness, darkness finds room to grow. So be weary, because when the world freezes over, the cold isn't the only thing that hurts you. I'm Blair Bathory, and welcome to the Something Scary podcast. Thanks for joining us as we descend into the darkness together. So, want to hear something scary? The silence watches. Sometimes it's not the roads we travel that endanger us, but the people we trust to guide us, like in this story shared by Ayosh B. Just you today, Raven? The bus doors hissed as they opened. I jumped inside and exhaled a vaporous sigh as they shut behind me. The old driver asked, his wrinkled face stretched into a warm yellow smile. Outside, the mist pressed against the windows, droplets racing down the glass. I adjusted my glasses, waiting for the fog on them to fade. "Just me, Jack," I said, dropping my bag in the seat beside him. Behind us, several rows of seats sat empty. "It's freezing out there. Doubt anyone else could handle this." Jack snorted, his one good brown eye fixing on me with a stare. "Kids, afraid they'll catch a cold? Or afraid of learning something useful?" His eyes followed me as I sat. I rolled mine. I'm sure the prospect of careening into a snowbank and dying of hypothermia had no impact on their decision. I deadpanned. Just because I like being out in this weather doesn't mean the rest of them do. I reached for my bag, then noticed how white Jack's knuckles were on the steering wheel. His smile froze. Something dark flickered across his face and then vanished. "Whatever you say, kid," he said, patting my thigh before giving it a gentle squeeze. I told myself I imagined the shift. Jack would never hurt me. He'd been in my life forever. Comforting, familiar, constant. "Gonna be slow today," he grunted, shifting gears. His right eye flicked to the rear view, his cloudy gray on the left stayed ahead. I twirled a lock of hair, staring out at the fog. He once told me he lost his eye in a fight over a girl. Her father beat him, so he left town. I found it sad, but Jack never seemed bitter. "One day," he told me then, "I'll introduce you to my new love." I've been waiting ever since. A cough snapped me out of my thoughts. Jack was frowning. I smiled sheepishly. "Sorry," I said. "You said something?" "I said we're gonna be slow today. Your parents home?" "No, another family dinner. Dad's hopeful it won't end with them slamming the door in each other's faces, but I doubt it." Jack knew everything about me, my home, my classmates, even my favorite color. He painted the entire bus blue once after telling me my best friend Jace spread rumors about my mom's mental health, claiming I was criminally insane. I never figured out how Jack knew, but I was glad he told me. Jace denied it, but I blocked him anyway. Jack nodded sympathetically now. "They ever cause you any trouble?" "I'll come to you," I said, smiling. "Thanks, Jack. Don't mention it." He focused on the road. The fog swallowed everything behind us. Silence thickened. "Just one more year," I said. "Then I'm gone." "Gone where?" Jack snorted. "Some state college where you learn spreadsheets? Then a minimum wage tech job?" I frowned. "What's with you?" He didn't answer. My attempts at conversation were brushed aside until finally he spoke again. "Why not stay here?" he asked, watching me in the mirror. "You have everything you need. I could get you a job at the school. We could still be together." "Together?" "Jack?" I said, confused. "You can't convince me to stay here and drive buses. I have to go to college. We can still talk." "That's not enough," he roared. He slammed the wheel, then swerved. The bus crashed into a snowbank. My seatbelt dislodged, and I hit the windshield. I heard another seatbelt click. "Jack," I protested, but he grabbed my hands. For an old man, he was strong. I kicked him in the face, scrambled for the front doors. Locked. "Get back here, you ungrateful creature," he shouted. I ran to the back and threw open a window. Skinny as I was, I could fit through. I dropped into the snow, shivering. Behind me, the bus doors hissed open. I sprinted blindly into the fog. How could I run before hypothermia set in? Where even was I? No sound, no Jack. Maybe he'd realize how insane this was. Maybe he'd stop. A hand clamped down on my shoulder. "Found you," Jack crowed. He shoved me into the snow. Cold sank into me like venom. "Stay down," he panted. He pulled a hammer from his jacket. "Could have gone quietly," he said. "We could have had a life together. But first, I need to make sure you can't run again." He raised the hammer, and then he flew into the air. A vehicle coming up behind us had slammed into him. A blue car. The body bent, then flew back. A crack. Later, I learned it was his neck snapping. The car skidded to a halt. Jace stepped out. Everything after that blurred. Crying, the police station, Jack's body left in the snow. At first, the courts tried to charge Jace, but the investigation changed everything. I went through the motions like I wasn't really there. They told me Jack hadn't lost his eye in a fight over a girl. The girl was 12. And the new love he promised to introduce someday, I finally understood. He painted the bus blue after telling classmates that I had a criminal record, that my family was mentally ill, that I stabbed someone at my old school. He wrote about me. 200 pages. I read them all. Page 190 was where he began planning my kidnapping. Page 1 was written a month after we met. Things at home were tense. Dad furious I hadn't said anything. Mom drifting through the days like it didn't make sense to her. Someone suggested therapy. Dad exploded. Weeks pass. I'm finishing 11th grade now. Jace has been kind. I'm basically living at his house. His mom insists I eat properly, which is annoying but helpful. So why am I writing this? Jack got a burial. I didn't think he deserved one. When I mentioned that, Jace vandalized the grave. I shouldn't have laughed, but I did. Sometimes I visit the grave myself. It's a guilty habit. Today was one of those days. I stepped through the cemetery gates, past the crypts and black wildflowers under the raven statue. Jack's grave was tucked away, fitting for a man who lived in the shadows. Something felt off as I approached, a shift in the air, like standing at the edge of something I shouldn't look down into. But I kept going. The coffin was open, dirt piled around the empty hole. Who would dig him up? No new people in town, no reason. Grave robbers? Jack had nothing worth stealing. My stomach dropped. I ran, all the way to the police. Now I'm back at Jace's house. The police already told my parents. Dad texted me. Usually it's scolding or half-hearted. I love yous, but this time it was pictures. Handprints in my bedroom window, motion of the cameras around my room. Prank or not, they don't want me home either. Jace is awake, keeping vigil. His parents are downstairs. Everything is locked. I keep telling myself it's enough, but my hands won't stop shaking. I don't want to die. Why is the one person who made me feel free the one trapping me even now? My eyes hurt. Jace keeps trying to get me to sleep. He wants to read what I'm typing. He's so... There's a hand knocking on the window. I don't know if I'm going to survive the night. It's frightening to think about how well we really know the adults who shape our lives and what secrets they carry long after they're gone. If someone you trusted showed you their darkest side, would you recognize it in time, or only once it was already too late? You know, you don't have to let big wireless or your overpriced phone bill suck the joy out of the holidays this year. Because right now, all of Mint Mobile's unlimited plans are 50% off. You can get 3, 6, or 12 months of unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month. It's their best deal of the year, and it makes real easy for you to give your expensive wireless bill the Scrooge treatment. And Mint Mobile's best deal of the year is happening right now. You can bring your current phone and number over to Mint No contracts and no nonsense. Y'all, I use this service and I love it. I've had it for about 2 years and I won't be going to anyone else. So you can turn your expensive wireless present into a huge wireless savings future by switching to Mint. Shop Mint Unlimited plans at mintmobile.com/scary. That's mintmobile.com/scary. Limited time offer, upfront payment of $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12 months plan required, 15 months equivalent. Taxes and fees extra, initial plan term only, 35 gigabytes space low when network is busy, capable device required. Availability, speed, and coverage varies. See mintmobile.com for more. Sometimes it's not the storm outside that will get you. It's the one waiting in the silence of the snow. Like in this story by Sarah Lukasiewicz. Upstate New York was buried. The storm had been relentless for days, smothering roads and fields in an endless, blinding layer of white. Elena had taken the temporary plow driver to make extra money while her son, Jonah, slept in their small apartment. She'd never spent a winter up north like this, but she told herself she was capable. The pay was good, and the solitude promised some quiet, something she thought she craved after the chaos of her life at home. The man who trained her on the plow, Old Bill, was a grizzled veteran with frozen breath and hands that looked like bark. He squinted at her over the hood of her truck, saying this maybe wasn't the right job for her, but she insisted. She'd done harder work for less pay. She'd do anything to support her family. Old Bill relented. "You'll learn," he said slowly, "but don't get too cozy with the snow out there. It listens." Elena laughed. "Snow listens?" She shook her head. "Come on, Bill. Don't give me that old man nonsense. Or you think I can handle a little ice and a blade?" Bill didn't answer, just grunted and shook his head. She thought she'd imagined the warning in his tone, but she brushed it off as just another sexist old man, thinking she couldn't handle a tough job. The first hours were easy, her headlights cutting swaths through the snow, the plow growling as it pushed snow off narrow country roads. The world beyond the glass cab was muted except for the wind and the scrape of steel against asphalt. Alone in the cab, Elena felt a peculiar thrill. This was her domain, her time, her solitude. Then the quiet shifted. Just beyond the headlights, shadows flickered at the edges of her vision. Tree branches swayed, without any apparent wind, scratching at the plow like fingernails. The engine hummed low and steady, yet the snow seemed to thicken, rising higher than it should have, swallowing the road behind her. By midnight, exhaustion began to creep in. She tried to push it aside, telling herself it was just a long night. But then came the first crackle of the radio, a faint, nearly imperceptible voice over a channel that wasn't supposed to carry calls. Static, then a whisper. "Elena." She froze and checked the channel. Nothing. The radio was dead on all frequencies. She shook her head. "Get a grip," she muttered, tightening her gloves on the steering wheel. The whispers returned, sometimes soft, sometimes rising in pitch, threading through the white noise. "Elena, come build a snowman. Elena." Hours blurred into a continuous frozen monotony. She swerved to avoid what she thought was a figure in the drift, only to find the road empty. She blinked. It was gone. Or was it? The tracks in the snow behind her were not her own. They twisted it in impossible ways, leading nowhere and yet appearing ahead, as if the snow itself was shaping the path. Each time she thought she saw Jonah at the roadside, the figure would vanish when she focused on it, and sometimes, just for a moment, the snow seemed to shift on its own, small ridges forming under invisible feet. She tried calling home. Jonah's phone went straight to voicemail. Anxiety tightened around her chest. He was safe, probably asleep. The isolation gnawed at her. The cab grew smaller. The lights flickered, and the shadows beyond the windshield stretched, curling toward her like tendrils. She saw fleeting glimpses of a child standing at the roadside. Jonah? No, impossible. The snow swirled around it, masking details, turning his face into something else entirely. She blinked, and the figure was gone. Sleep-deprived and cold, she began hallucinating, or so she told herself. Frost patterns on the glass formed faces, indistinct at first, then unmistakably human. She couldn't tell how long she'd been driving when she noticed the ice cracked along the edge of the windshield. She swore she saw a small hand pressed against it. Her pulse surged. She hit the brakes, but the hand vanished, leaving only the quiet scape of snow beneath the plow. She blinked, nothing. Had it been real or a trick of frost? She thought of old Bill's warning, "The snow listens." She laughed once bitterly. She dismissed him as sexist, afraid he thought she couldn't handle the job. Now, she wasn't so sure. There was something alive out there, something that waited patiently until she was alone to speak. Hours passed, or maybe minutes. Time had no shape in the storm. Every road looked the same, every drift taller than it should be. The plow became a cocoon, the cab a cage. She could hear whispers in the snow, coaxing, calling. And sometimes, just sometimes, she thought she heard Jonah's voice, soft, terrified.
"Mom?"
At the narrowest stretch of road, flanked by snowdrifts taller than the cab, a figure appeared. She braked hard, heart hammering. Headlights caught a child, small, pale, waving. "Jonah?" Her stomach twisted. "Jonah?" she whispered, voice cracking. The figure didn't respond. It tilted its head, smile widening impossibly, face blurring in the glare of her headlights. She blinked, it flickered, and then seemed to melt into the snow itself. Instinct screamed at her to stop, to turn around, but something impelled her forward. The plow pushed through the snow, the blade clattering over ice. The figure stayed ahead, flickering, growing, shrinking in the same instant. The radio hissed.
"Mom, come play in the snow."
Elena's hand shook. The cab windows iced over from the inside, frost creeping across the glass in unnatural patterns. She tried to open the door. It wouldn't budge. The plow's engine roared, but she could no longer hear the outside world. There was only the snow, the voices, the figure that both was and wasn't her son. Somewhere in the white, she lost herself. The plow moved forward, guided by something other than her hands. Frost crawled across the hood, forming patterns like footprints she hadn't made. The snow seemed to pulse, breathing, reshaping itself around the vehicle. Tires disappeared beneath it, lights swallowed, until the cab itself seemed suspended in a frozen void. And then, as suddenly as it had appeared, the figure was gone. The radio fell silent. The storm raged, relentless, indifferent. By morning, the plow was found abandoned on a remote country road. Snow had erased the tracks leading away, leaving only the vehicle frozen in place. Frost patterns on the glass suggested something had moved inside. Elena was never seen again. Old Bill shook his head when she told of the missing woman. Some things, he muttered, could not be reasoned with. The snow listens. It should have ended there, but 2 days later, Jonah's phone lit up with a new voicemail from an unknown number. He played it once before dropping the phone and refusing to touch it again. It started as a low rush of wind, the kind storms make when they push against the world. Then the wind shifted, threading itself into words, strained, distorted, and yet unmistakably familiar. The message ended in static, sharp and final, as if something had cut off mid-sentence. Now, in the quiet hours of a winter night, locals swear they hear more messages bleeding through dead radio channels. Soft, pleading, always the same voice. "Jonah, I'm here. Don't let it in." Elena went into the storm thinking she could handle the snow, the cold, the isolation. But some warnings aren't meant to be ignored, and some whispers aren't just in your head. When the wind carries voices you shouldn't hear, how far would you go to answer them? So I got sent this really cool product, y'all, and I've been really enjoying it. And if you're a last-minute shopper like me, you know the feeling. Shelves are empty and ideas are running low. And Aura Frames is a solution with a gift that feels personal. Upload unlimited photos and videos. Just download the Aura app and connect to Wi-Fi. It's that easy. Share photos and videos effortlessly, straight from your phone, all year long. You can't wrap togetherness, but you can frame it. For a limited time, save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com to get $35 off Aura's best-selling carver mat frames, named #1 by Wirecutter, by using promo code SomethingScary at checkout. That's auraframes.com, promo code SomethingScary. This deal is exclusive to listeners and frames sell out fast, so order yours now to get in time for the holidays. Support the show by mentioning us at checkout. Terms and conditions apply. There are nights when the darkness doesn't just hide things, it follows you home, like in this story passed down from father to his daughter, Princessia. My birthday was coming up in 2 weeks, finally, my 18th. I was most excited for my birthday this year, not only because it was the big 1-8, but because my first time my mother was letting me travel overseas alone to the Dominican Republic. Even before I landed, she warned me it had been unusually chilly there. The kind of cold that nips at you in the morning, sharp and strange, even if the sun burns hot later on. But honestly, I didn't care. I have a half-sister named Reina who lived there, and our birthdays are just 1 day apart. And this year would be the first time we'd actually get to celebrate together. That's all I was thinking about as I shoved the last zipper of my suitcase closed. Got on the plane and watched the clouds split open beneath me, counting down every second until I was home again. When I got off the plane, I saw my papa and my little sister Lily and ran to hug them. Finally, I was back in my country with my family, where I belonged. From there, we drove home to our little house in the province of Santiago. I was greeted by 6 of my siblings when we got home. Most were there except for Reina, who had been waiting for me in our old childhood room. I ran to it, and there she was, sitting on the edge of the bed, hyped to see me. We spent the whole day together walking around the woods behind our house, catching up on everything we'd missed in each other's lives. The chill in the air made the forest feel more quiet than usual, the kind of quiet that made each rustle of leaves stand out. She mentioned that Papa was taking us on a trip the next morning. We were going up the mountain to a small town called La Loma. My great-grandfather had lived there, someone I had never met but heard many stories about. I was excited. We set off early the next morning, my little brother Kendrick tagging along. It was about a 2-hour drive to the mountaintop. The town was rural, with a few houses owned by family members and almost no technology available. My grandparents were farmers, living off the land. We spent the day riding horses, tending to the animals, and listening to my grandpa's adventures. Time passed quickly, and before we knew it, it was 1:30 in the morning. Papa called us to the car while we said goodbye to our family. My sister and I got into the back seat as Kendrick took the passenger seat up front. We set off for home. Papa told us we were taking a shortcut through La Solitaria, the lonely one. The road was notorious for strange happenings at night. There was not a single streetlight or house in sight, and there had always been stories of multiple, unexplained deaths. The winter chill made the air sharp and the trees loomed the dark sentinels along the roadside. As you can imagine, we were a little shocked that Papa even mentioned it. Noticing our nerves, he decided to stir the pot further by sharing his own experience on that road decades ago. About 30 years before, Papa and his best friend Fernando were truck drivers with one last stop on their route. It required them to drive up this very same road at night. Alone, no other cars in sight, Fernando drove while Papa watched the roadside, counting signs to pass the time. He noticed a single white cow with a red bell in the distance. They were halfway through when suddenly the engine sputtered and the car came to a startling stop. Fernando got out to check the hood. Papa stayed inside, keeping his eyes on him. Then, out of nowhere, that same white cow appeared, standing in the middle of the road, about 10 feet from the car. Papa stared at it, frozen, as it remained perfectly still. As Fernando finished checking under the hood, the cow began moving closer. The headlights were still on, giving them a clear view. As Fernando climbed back in, Papa turned back to the cow and said, "Raro," pointing. But when Fernando looked, the cow had vanished. The lights flickered and went out. Seconds later, they came back. There it was again, but this time, its head twisted at a freakishly unnatural angle. It stared at them. Then, almost impossibly, it rose onto its hind legs. Papa and Fernando stared in shock. The lights went out once more. When they returned, standing where the cow had been was a woman in a white dress, the hem dirty and streaked with blood. Her long, stringy black hair obscured most of her face. Papa clutched the cross around his neck and began praying. She looked up at him and in a flash lunged at Fernando, her long arms passing seamlessly through the window. The lights flickered again, and when they returned, she was gone. Fernando started the car and floored it all the way to their destination. Neither speaking a word, they made their delivery and began the drive home down the same road. This time, every light was on. Prayers blaring from the radio, Papa clutching his cross the entire way. They made it home safely, relieved to escape La Solitaria. Over the next few days, Papa noticed Fernando acting withdrawn and muttering to himself. When Papa confronted him, Fernando gave a panicked look and mumbled, "She's here. She's watching us. She's watching everybody." That night, Fernando's mother called Papa. Her son had died in a motorcycle accident on, you guessed it, La Solitaria. My siblings and I froze. Papa chuckled and waved it off as a joke. But then he said, "Or is it?" and winked. Raina rolled her eyes, skeptical of the supernatural. I, however, have always been a believer. Just then, Raina pulled me close to the window, gripping my arm tightly. She pointed wide-eyed. A white cow with a red bell, the same kind we had seen before, stood in the middle of the road. We exchanged nervous glances, an unspoken understanding passing between us. That night, we didn't sleep. The next morning, I asked my grandma about Fernando. She gasped and told almost the same story as Papa, leaving out his encounter with the woman in white. But she added something chilling. The night before Papa and Fernando left on that trip, she had dreamt that Fernando would die on that road. Behind him stood a woman in a white dress, a dark shadow looming over her. She lunged at my grandma in the dream. I was beyond shocked. The trip ended, and I came back home, but I don't think I came back alone. Even now, 2 years later, I still feel as if something is watching me, right here, right now. I can't shake the feeling of the eyes in the dark, of quiet roads where something might be waiting. Whether it's imagination or something more, something stick when you long after the night ends. Have you ever felt a presence behind you, even when you thought you were completely alone? This week's podcast stories were edited by Sarah Lukasiewicz, narration by Blair Bathory, produced, edited, and mixed by Fitz Harris, executive produced by Gail Gilman, music by Sapphire Sindalo and Calvin Linderman. If you have a story you'd like to submit, send me an email at somethingscary@snarled.com. Don't forget to watch the video version of Something Scary over at youtube.com/snarled. And if you'd like to support the show and everything we do at Snarled, join our Patreon at patreon.com/snarled.